What if I told you that Marilyn Monroe is still primping in front of her mirror, Montgomery Clift is still pacing the halls, rehearsing his lines, and John Belushi continues making people laugh, decades after their deaths? As we explore the most haunted hotels where Hollywood legends once stayed, we're about to discover that some celebrities never actually checked out. From mysterious footsteps in empty hallways to strange reflections in mirrors, these legendary establishments hold secrets that continue to mystify guests and staff alike. So join me as we step behind velvet rope and into the supernatural world. Welcome to the hotels where Hollywood royalty checked in, but never checked out. The Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. When discussing haunted hotels with connections to Hollywood royalty, we simply must begin with the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. Built in 1927, this iconic establishment was financed by a group of Hollywood luminaries including Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, who helped bring the hotel to life with a grand opening that hosted the biggest celebrities of the day like Gloria Swanson and Greta Garbo. Roosevelt wasn't just a place to stay, it was where Hollywood history was made. The hotel's Blossom Room hosted the very first Academy Awards ceremony in 1929, a much more intimate affair than today's extravagant productions. Little did those early Oscar attendees know that decades later, psychics would identify the spirit of a mysterious man in black clothing, haunting this very room. But perhaps the most famous ghostly resident of Roosevelt is the glamorous and tragic Marilyn Monroe. Following her rise to fame as a model, Marilyn lived at the hotel for 2 years in Suite 1200, which overlooked the swimming pool. The connection between Marilyn and Roosevelt didn't end with her death in 1962. One day, a hotel employee was dusting a full-length mirror that had once hung in Marilyn's suite when she was startled to find Monroe's beautiful face looking back at her from the glass. The employee turned quickly around, but there was no one behind her, yet the reflection remained for several moments before slowly fading away. This haunted mirror is still at the Roosevelt today, now hanging near the elevator on the lower level. Some visitors claim they can still catch a glimpse of a beautiful blonde in the glass, as if Marilyn's tragic life has somehow been permanently impressed into the mirror itself. It's as if she's still primping for her next big scene, unaware that her final curtain has long since fallen. When the Roosevelt underwent a massive restoration in 1984, it seems to have stirred up more than just dust. Staff began reporting all manner of strange occurrences, complaints about loud conversations in empty rooms, disembodied voices in hallways, phones mysteriously taken off their receivers, and lights turning on in empty, locked rooms. One housekeeper was inexplicably pushed into a supply closet by unseen hands, while a typewriter in an empty office began typing on its own in the middle of the night. Even more intriguing are the visual manifestations. A man in a white suit was seen by 3 different people on 2 separate occasions, walking through a door before vanishing into thin air. Extra bedspreads hung on a rod in the basement began moving on their own without any breeze or explanation. Perhaps most chilling was the little girl seen playing in the lobby who vanished before the eyes of a startled staff member. The 9th floor seems particularly active, with many employees reporting strange shadows and a heavy, watchful presence that has prompted some staff to refuse to work on that level altogether. But it's room 928 that has garnered the most paranormal attention. Montgomery Clift, one of Hollywood's greatest method actors, lived in room 928 for 3 months in 1952 while filming From Here to Eternity. During his stay, Clift was known to restlessly pace in his room and the corridor outside, constantly rehearsing his lines and practicing the bugle for his role. Staff and guests now report cold spots that brush past them in this room, and many have felt a strong presence watching over them or walking beside them. One night in 1992, a female guest reported that a man's hand patted her on the shoulder while she was reading in bed. Thinking it was her husband, she turned only to find him sound asleep beside her. The hand, it seems, belonged to no one physically present in the room. Clift's life was marked by tragedy. In May 1957, after leaving a party at Elizabeth Taylor's home, he veered off the road and collided with a telephone pole. The accident left him with severe facial injuries requiring extensive plastic surgery. Although he recovered physically and continued his acting career, receiving an Academy Award nomination for Judgment at Nuremberg, many believe the accident marked the beginning of his decline. He died in 1966 at just 46 years old, with rumors of suicide following his death. When renowned psychic Peter James investigated the Roosevelt in 1992, he detected Montgomery Clift's spirit in both Room 928 and the Tropicana bar, as well as the strong presence of Marilyn Monroe throughout the hotel. He left convinced that the Roosevelt was indeed home to numerous restless spirits from Hollywood's golden age. The Knickerbocker Hotel. Our next stop takes us to another historic Hollywood landmark, the Knickerbocker Hotel. Built in 1925, the Knickerbocker began its life as a luxury apartment building before later becoming a hotel. Throughout the tumultuous decade of the 1920s, it played a key role at the heart of Hollywood's social scene. One of the most alluring features of the Knickerbocker was its Renaissance Revival Bar, which regularly hosted the cream of the Hollywood crop. A frequent guest was none other than Rudolph Valentino, the smoldering silent screen star who reportedly loved to dance the tango to the live music performed in the saloon. His passionate spirit apparently lingers, as guests and staff have reported glimpses of Valentino still dancing in the former bar area, eternally caught in the sensuous movements of his favorite dance. The hotel lobby features an impressive crystal chandelier, which cost over $120,000 in 1925, an astronomical sum at the time. It was under this chandelier that epic film director D.W. Griffith, a true pioneer of the Hollywood film industry, died in 1948. By the time of his death, Griffith had been largely forgotten by his peers, enduring a painful and lonely existence at the Knickerbocker. He spent most of his time in the hotel bar, talking to anyone who would listen to his stories of Hollywood's early days. His dismissal by the industry he helped create was a great tragedy, and it wasn't until years after his death that he would finally be recognized as the genius he truly was. Another long-term resident was actor William Frawley, best known for playing Fred Mertz on the beloved I Love Lucy show. Frawley lived at the hotel for decades. In March of 1966, he was walking into the Knickerbocker when he suffered a fatal heart attack on the sidewalk outside. His nurse carried him into the lobby and attempted to revive him, but it was too late. Some guests have reported seeing an older man matching Frawley's description, still making his way through the lobby, perhaps eternally trying to reach the safety of his room. Perhaps the strangest tragedy associated with the Knickerbocker took place in November 1962 with the suicide of Irene Gibbons, a talented costume designer at MGM Studios. Throughout her career, Gibbons designed costumes for numerous famous actresses, including Hedy Lamarr, Judy Garland, and Lana Turner. Later in her career, she worked on several Doris Day films and became close friends with the actress. In 1962, after Doris Day noticed that Irene seemed unusually upset and nervous, the costume designer confided that she was in love with actor Gary Cooper and that he was the only man she had ever truly loved. Sadly, Cooper had died the previous year in 1961. On November 15th, Irene checked into the Knickerbocker under an assumed name. In her despair, she first cut her wrist, but when that didn't prove immediately fatal, she jumped to her death from her window on the 11th floor. Her body reportedly landed on top of the hotel awning, where it wasn't discovered for several days. The first supernatural event officially recorded at the Knickerbocker wasn't connected to a Hollywood star, but to one of the world's most famous magicians. During his life, Harry Houdini had been an outspoken opponent of the spiritualist movement, but he made a pact with his wife and friends that should contact from beyond be possible, he would attempt it for 10 years after his death. For a decade after Houdini passed away, his widow Bess Houdini continued to hold seances in hopes of communicating with her late husband. The last official Houdini seance was held on Halloween night of 1936 on the roof of the Knickerbocker Hotel. A group of friends, fellow magicians, and Bess herself gathered to make one final attempt to contact the elusive magician. After trying for over an hour without success, they finally gave up. At the precise moment they ended the seance, a tremendously violent thunderstorm suddenly erupted, drenching the participants and terrifying them with horrific lightning and thunder. They would later learn that this mysterious storm did not occur anywhere else in Hollywood, only directly above the Knickerbocker Hotel. Some speculated that perhaps Houdini did make contact after all, as the flamboyant performer might well have announced his presence with such spectacular atmospheric effects. When the Knickerbocker closed as a hotel in 1971 and was converted into a senior citizens retirement building, the old bar, believed to be the most spiritually active area, was sealed off. These rooms remained closed and unused for nearly 25 years until the early 1990s, when they were reopened as a nostalgic coffee shop. Staff at the renovated establishment were quick to report instances of lights turning on and off by themselves and objects moving about with no visible cause. Some even claimed to have seen the ghost of Marilyn Monroe in the women's restroom, adding yet another haunted location to the list of places where the troubled star's spirit supposedly appears. It seems that in death, as in life, Marilyn can't help but be in the spotlight. Chateau Marmont. No exploration of haunted Hollywood hotels would be complete without mentioning the infamous Chateau Marmont. Opening its doors in 1929, the chateau was modeled after a French Gothic chateau and quickly became notorious for wild parties and a clientele of excessive celebrity guests. The Chateau Marmont has always prided itself on offering celebrities absolute privacy, making it the perfect setting for both creative inspiration and scandalous behavior. F. Scott Fitzgerald had a heart attack here. Jim Morrison used a drain pipe outside his window to swing from the roof to his room. And Led Zeppelin rode motorcycles through the lobby, but it's the ghost of comedian John Belushi that has made the most lasting supernatural impression. On the evening of March 5, 1982, Belushi got together with several close friends, including Robin Williams and Robert De Niro, for a dinner party at the restaurant above the famous Roxy nightclub on Sunset Boulevard. After dinner, he invited Williams and De Niro up to his temporary residence, bungalow number 3 at the Chateau Marmont. During their visit, Belushi was injected with a speedball, a dangerous combination of cocaine and heroin, by a woman named Kathy Smith. As the night wore on, his friends left while Kathy remained. After a while, John went into the bedroom to lie down, and Kathy eventually left him to sleep. Later that day, John's manager tried repeatedly to call him at the bungalow but got no answer. Concerned, he went to check on him. When he entered the bungalow and went into the bedroom, he found Belushi blue in the face. Despite desperate attempts to revive him, it was too late. John Belushi was dead at just 33 years old. Police were called, and as soon as they arrived, news media also showed up, bringing crowds of people who looked on as John's body was carried out of the hotel in a body bag. Years later, a family temporarily moved into the Chateau Marmont while their home was being renovated. Due to delays with the renovation, they ended up staying there for over a year. During this time, they would hear their young son alone in his room late at night, laughing and giggling to himself. At first, they thought nothing of it, as their child was naturally outgoing and playful. When they finally asked what he was laughing at, the child would only say, "The funny man." One night, the mother was discussing this with a friend who mentioned that John Belushi had died at the chateau and that there were many reports of his spirit still roaming the grounds. Her friend did a quick online search and asked if they were staying in bungalow number 3. She confirmed they were, the very bungalow where Belushi had died. A few days later, the boy began to complain that he wasn't sleeping well because the funny man would awaken him wanting to play and make him laugh. One evening, as the mother was looking through a book about the Chateau Marmont, her son wandered in, curious about what she was reading. As she turned the pages, showing various celebrities who had stayed there over the years, the child suddenly became very excited, pointing directly at a picture of John Belushi, exclaiming, "Look, Mommy, that's the funny man." The spirit of John Belushi, it seems, continues to haunt bungalow number 3 at the Chateau Marmont, still seeking playmates and still making people laugh, even from beyond the grave. The Queen Mary Hotel. While not located in Hollywood proper, the Queen Mary deserves special mention in our exploration of haunted hotels with connections to Hollywood royalty. This retired British ocean liner is permanently docked in Long Beach, California, and has been converted into a hotel, restaurant, and event space. During its sailing days from 1936 to 1967, the Queen Mary transported numerous Hollywood celebrities across the Atlantic, including Elizabeth Taylor, Audrey Hepburn, and Cary Grant. The Queen Mary has been called the most haunted hotel in America, with over 150 documented spirit sightings. During World War II, the ship was converted into a troop ship nicknamed the Grey Ghost. A tragic accident occurred in 1942 when the Queen Mary, traveling in a zigzag pattern to avoid enemy submarines, collided with its escort ship, HMS Curacoa, cutting it in half and killing 338 men. Many believe the souls of these men still haunt the ship. The most haunted areas include the engine room, where a young sailor was crushed to death by door number 13, the first-class swimming pool, where 2 women drowned in separate incidents, and the second-class swimming pool, where a little girl named Jackie drowned and can still be heard splashing and calling for her mother. But it's stateroom B340 that has the most reports of bizarre and otherworldly experiences. Guests have reported seeing a dark figure standing at the foot of the bed, faucets turning on by themselves, bed sheets being pulled off in the middle of the night, and knocking on the door when no one is there. The paranormal activity in this room became so intense that the Queen Mary stopped renting it out for many years. It's now available again, for those brave enough to spend the night. Hollywood connections to Queen Mary continue in death as well as life. Psychics have reported encountering the spirits of celebrities like Bela Lugosi and Greta Garbo, still enjoying the luxury of the ship's accommodations. The Queen Mary embraces its haunted reputation by offering ghost tours and paranormal investigations year-round. The Beverly Hills Hotel. Known as the Pink Palace, the Beverly Hills Hotel has been a playground for Hollywood's elite since it opened in 1912. While the hotel doesn't publicly acknowledge any hauntings, staff and guests have reported numerous paranormal encounters over the years. Bungalow 5 is said to be haunted by the ghost of Howard Hughes, the eccentric billionaire who lived there on and off for 30 years. Hughes was known for his strange behaviors, including ordering the same meal every day and requiring staff to handle his food using multiple napkins. Hotel employees report hearing the sounds of someone pacing all night in his empty bungalow, and maintenance workers claim their tools mysteriously disappear when working there, only to reappear later in odd locations. Another famous ghost is that of Rachmaninoff, the renowned composer who stayed at the hotel while on concert tours. Staff and guests have reported hearing piano music coming from empty rooms, particularly haunting renditions of his famous preludes. When investigated, the rooms are always vacant and the pianos untouched. The pool area has its own spiritual resident, a glamorous blonde woman in 1940s swimwear who appears by the pool late at night and sometimes leaves behind wet footprints that lead nowhere. Some believe this is the spirit of Thelma Todd, a comedic actress of the 1930s who died under mysterious circumstances. The Ambassador Hotel. Though no longer standing today, the Ambassador Hotel deserves a prominent place in any discussion of haunted Hollywood hotels. Opened in 1921 at the corner of Wilshire Boulevard and Alexandria Avenue, this legendary establishment quickly became the epicenter of Hollywood society. With its stunning Spanish colonial revival architecture and sprawling 23-acre grounds, the Ambassador was considered the most glamorous address in Los Angeles for nearly half a century. The hotel's crown jewel was the famous Coconut Grove nightclub, where Hollywood royalty danced under artificial palm trees and a ceiling of twinkling stars. The Grove wasn't just a nightclub, it was where Hollywood deals were made, romances blossomed, and careers were launched. 6 Academy Awards ceremonies were held here in the 1930s and 1940s, cementing the Ambassador's place in Hollywood history. But the hotel's legacy was forever altered on June 5, 1968, when Senator Robert Kennedy was assassinated in the kitchen pantry after celebrating his California primary victory. This tragedy is said to have left a permanent psychic scar on the building. In the decades that followed, numerous security guards reported encountering Kennedy's restless spirit wandering the kitchen area where he was shot. Some described feeling a profound sadness washing over them, followed by the distinct sensation of someone brushing past them. Others claimed to hear the chaotic sounds of that fateful night, shouts, screams, and even gunshots, echoing through the empty corridors at 12:15 a.m., the exact time of the shooting. The Ambassador's paranormal residents weren't limited to Kennedy. The spirit of Rudolph Valentino was frequently reported dancing in the Coconut Grove, where he often competed in tango contests during his lifetime. Staff described seeing a dashing figure in formal attire, executing perfect tango moves across the empty dance floor, only to vanish when approached. Perhaps the most actively haunting presence was blonde bombshell Jean Harlow. She and her husband Paul Byrne lived in a bungalow on the Ambassador grounds. Just 2 months after their wedding in 1932, Byrne committed suicide in their home under mysterious circumstances. Until the hotel's demolition in 2005, staff and guests consistently reported seeing Harlow's ghost returning to the bungalow, her platinum hair glowing in the darkness as she paced from room to room, perhaps eternally searching for answers about her husband's tragic death or trying to convey the truth about what really happened that night. The Cecil Hotel. While not known as a celebrity hangout, the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles harbors such a profoundly disturbing history that it's rumored to have directly inspired the 5th season of American Horror Story Hotel. Standing ominously at the edge of Skid Row, this 19-story, 700-room fortress of brick and mortar opened in 1927 as a luxury business hotel, but quickly descended into something far more sinister. The Great Depression transformed the Cecil into a budget accommodation, attracting a transient population and earning it the macabre nickname the Suicide, due to its alarming number of self-inflicted deaths. The hotel's dark energy seems almost palpable. Since its opening, the Cecil has been the site of at least 16 documented deaths by suicide, numerous overdoses, and several brutal murders. Guests and staff have reported disembodied voices, shadows moving of their own accord, unexplained cold spots, and the persistent feeling of being watched. Many describe an overwhelming sense of dread that intensifies as you ascend to the upper floors. In 2013, the Cecil gained international notoriety when the body of 21-year-old Canadian student Elisa Lam was discovered decomposing in one of the rooftop water tanks after guests had been unknowingly drinking and bathing in the contaminated water for weeks. The chilling elevator surveillance footage of Lam's last known moments shows her behaving bizarrely, gesturing wildly, appearing to hide from someone, and seemingly conversing with an invisible entity. This unsettling video went viral, fueling theories ranging from paranormal possession to psychotic break. Investigators were never able to conclusively determine how Lam accessed the locked rooftop area or how she managed to climb into the water tank and close the heavy lid behind her. The Cecil's malevolent reputation is further cemented by its connection to notorious serial killers. Richard Ramirez, the infamous Night Stalker who terrorized Los Angeles in the mid-1980s, lived on the hotel's top floor during his killing spree. He would reportedly return to Cecil covered in blood and discard his clothing in the dumpster before walking through the lobby to his room, completely unquestioned in an environment where unusual behavior was the norm. 7 years later, Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger also chose Cecil as his residence while murdering sex workers in Los Angeles. Paranormal investigators have suggested the hotel sits on a powerful convergence of negative energy, a portal or vortex that not only attracts troubled souls, but actively influences them toward darkness. Despite numerous ownership changes and rebranding attempts, Cecil's reputation remains unchanged. In 2017, the Los Angeles City Council designated it a historic cultural monument, ensuring that this building and perhaps its spirits will remain a part of downtown Los Angeles for generations to come. The Millennium Biltmore Hotel. The Magnificent Millennium. Biltmore Hotel opened in 1923 and quickly became a symbol of Los Angeles luxury and prestige. The hotel hosted the Academy Awards ceremonies throughout the 1930s and 1940s, and its crystal ballroom was where the Oscar statuette design was sketched on a napkin during the founding dinner of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. The Biltmore's grand staircase and gallery bar have been featured in countless films and TV shows, including Ghostbusters, Chinatown, and Mad Men. But behind its glamorous facade, the Biltmore harbors numerous ghostly residents. The most frequently reported apparition is the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short, who was last seen alive at the Biltmore's bar in January 1947, just days before her mutilated body was found in a vacant lot. Guests and staff have reported seeing a young woman in 1940s clothing walking through the lobby before vanishing. Others have felt cold spots and unexplained touches while standing in the bar area where she was last seen. Another ghost is that of a nurse who reportedly worked at the hotel during World War II, when part of it was converted into a military hospital. She's been seen walking the 10th floor in her uniform, checking rooms as if still attending to patients decades after her death. The Biltmore's pool area, now converted into a ballroom, is said to be haunted by the spirit of a little boy who drowned there in the 1940s. Staff setting up for events have reported hearing a child's laughter and seeing wet footprints appear on the dry floor. The Hotel del Coronado. Just outside San Diego, the Hotel del Coronado has been serving Hollywood stars since 1888. Its distinctive Victorian architecture has made it a popular filming location for classics like Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe. The hotel's most famous ghost is Kate Morgan, a young woman who checked in under a false name in November 1892 and was found dead on an exterior staircase 5 days later, apparently from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Guests staying in her room, number 3327, report televisions turning on by themselves, dramatic temperature changes, unexplained scents, and items moving without explanation. A different female spirit haunts the hotel's gift shop, playfully moving merchandise and turning lights on after closing. Some believe this is the ghost of a maid who worked at the hotel in the early 1900s. Guests have also reported seeing the ghost of a gentleman in period clothing in the hotel's turret area, believed to be a caretaker who died on the property. The Palace Hotel, San Francisco. San Francisco's Palace Hotel, rebuilt after the 1906 earthquake, has long been a destination for Hollywood celebrities visiting the Bay Area. Its opulent garden court restaurant with its stained glass ceiling has been featured in numerous films, including Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. The hotel's most famous ghostly resident is President Warren G. Harding, who died suddenly in his suite in 1923. Staff and guests have reported seeing Harding's ghost in the 8th floor hallways near his former room. Some have even claimed to witness a spectral presidential funeral procession moving through the grand ballroom in the middle of the night. Another recurring apparition is a woman in Victorian clothing who appears in the garden court during quiet moments. According to hotel lore, she was a wealthy socialite who frequented the palace in the late 1800s and declared she would never leave this beautiful place. It seems she has kept her word. If you've enjoyed this exploration of Hollywood's most haunted hotels, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more supernatural adventures. Share this video with your friends who love a good ghost story or are planning a spooky getaway. And let us know in the comments if you've ever had your own paranormal experience in a historic hotel. Until next time, remember that in some hotels, the stars never really check out.